interim chair, Elise Martyr, and I would like to welcome you to the August 26, 2024 Neighborhood Advisory Committee meeting. The committee consists of 9 members, all appointed by City Council, with representation from specific community sectors. Members shall be residents of the city or the city's extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction and shall reflect the socioeconomic diversity of Asheville. The term of office is 3 years. The committee was established to advise the City Council on neighborhoods within the City of Asheville's zoning and planning jurisdiction. The committee shall have the following powers and duties. 1. Develop rules and bylaws for the conduct of its business, including but not limited to meeting schedules, officers, voting, and subcommittees. 2. Develop a plan to strengthen neighborhood identity and resilience and to facilitate communication and cooperation between Asheville's neighborhoods and city offices. 3. Develop benchmarks and standards by which progress towards implementing the plan can be measured. And 4. Work on special projects that are consistent with the goals of the committee as assigned or directed by the City Council. All of our committee members and staff are participating in person. Members of the public are welcome to attend our meetings, which happen in the first floor conference room of City Hall on the 4th Monday of every other month, beginning in January 2024. Let's see, our virtual engagement hub is not working right now, but we are voice recording. I will now invite the committee members to introduce themselves. Please say your name and the zip code or area you represent. And we'll start over here with you, Sandra.
I'm Sandra Frimpong, and I represent zip code 28805.
Jake Smith, 2804 at large.
And I'm Elise Martyr. I reside in 28806, and I am also an at-large representative.
Elizabeth Lycus, I'm an at-large representative and residing in 28803.
I'm Trevor Schmidt. I reside in 28803, and I represent that in 28704.
Moira Belonge. I reside in 28886. I represent both 28806 and 28728.
Charles Kroll, 28801.
My name is Joe Taylor, and I represent zip code 288041.
So thank you, everyone. I would also like our staff members to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Christine Israel, and I'm a division manager in our communication and public department. And good afternoon, everybody. Dow Hitch, and I'm the director of communication and public engagement department, which supports this committee.
Thank you. All right. Before we start, I do just want to remind everyone that this is a special meeting that we have called, and so according to the rules, we can only discuss the specific topics that we mentioned when we made the notice of the meeting. So you'll see on our agenda that that's 2 topics: the Festival of Neighborhoods and also our annual retreat meeting. So we'll have a review of today's agenda. We can't really add anything to it, but is there any other discussion on the agenda in terms of like the order of things? If not, we'll just take a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And Charles was second. And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Cool. All right, we'll then take a motion to approve our minutes or any corrections or comments.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Moira.
Second.
Jake?
Yes.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Okay, then we will quickly move into public comments. Are there any public comments?
No, Chair, we're not.
No public comments. Thank you. And then we'll get right into updates regarding the 2024 Festival of Neighborhoods. And so if you guys, your working group members, can just take it away.
Who wants to start? I'll give an overview and then y'all want to chime into different parts. We are 2.5 weeks away. Is that possible? 2.5 weeks away, September 14th. Overall, we have tried to expand to 35 or 40, and right now, total, it looks like we have 31 or 32 confirmed, which is pretty good. We're excited about that. Last year, that's more than we had total last year, and we're hoping there's actually some more that have come in that we have to decide if we're going to add those in particular. What we'd really like to do is add more neighborhoods, because our goal for neighborhoods was 20, and we're still sitting at 10. We have done extensive outreach, one-on-one outreach, small emails to a few, large emails, mini emails, even had a deadline that we extended, still looking for. So I'm going to just tell you who the neighborhoods are that are signed up now. And if you've got a particular connection or you think, hey, I was told my neighborhood was participating, we're not on that list, let me know. So we have right now Oakhurst, which is 28801. We have Oakley, 28803. Kenilworth Residents Association, Albemarle Park Manor Grounds Association, Beaver Dam Valley, Burton Street, 28806. We have East End Valley Street, 28801. We have the Shiloh Community Association, 28803. West Asheville Neighborhoods is actually going to have two because they're a big combo deal for lots of West Asheville neighborhoods. They're going to feature some things from the Lucy Herring Peace Garden. They have Iwana. They have who else? There's a bunch of things going on. They had so much. We said we're going to give you two. Actually, so now we have 11. And then we have Maple Crest, which is right downtown. So if you didn't hear your neighborhood call and you thought you were going to be part of it, or you think you should be a part of it, or you want to spearhead that, feel free to reach out to the leaders in that neighborhood association. So I think we have those 11. In addition to that, we've got 14 or 15 nonprofits. We've got a wait list of 5 or 6 more nonprofits that we're waiting to see if we want to expand it. We have 6 or 7 city offices and governments that are going to be there, including the fire department, the police department, public works, the community engagement, is that what it's called? CAPE, community.
Yeah, communication and public engagement.
Communication and public engagement. Lots of other, who else is coming? The nonprofits, just in case you're interested and you can tell people this is who's going to be here. We have AB Tech is going to be there, their Director of Enrollment Services. We have Asheville on Bikes, they're just going to set up their thing again. We have a couple that are environmentally related. We have the Center for Honeybee Research, and there is a group called Electrify Asheville Buncombe, city and county sponsored program that shows people how to do environmentally friendly, eco-friendly things around their home. Read to Succeed, the Buncombe County Library System, the Buncombe County Tax Assessor's Office is going to be a popular table for the assessments happening next year. RHA Health Services and All Souls Counseling Center, kind of the mental health side of things in terms of a whole continuum of resources in the community. We also have Citizens Climate Lobby. There are a couple of health navigators for people that can provide information on how to sign up for marketplace, affordable care, insurance, that kind of thing. And what else am I missing? My daddy taught me that it's not only going to have a booth that's a nonprofit in town, but they're going to be helping with, they have generously offered to help with setup and cleanup. So they're going to provide the volunteers for the bookends of the festival, which is awesome. Who am I missing? And then we've got several, like I said, on the wait list that are from varying things, varying organizations around. That's kind of the overview of where we are. The biggest need we have that I would love to get some people to commit to tonight, if possible, or to at least go home and think about hard and commit tomorrow, we still have a need for volunteers. We have to have 2 people at the inflatables and we've got 2 time slots for that. We've got 2 of those greeters, people that stand at the gates, and Laura can tell you more about the bingo card and the door prizes and what you tell people as they come in. And then there's spots for floaters, but those of us that are on the planning committee are also going to be floating, so those are the not as prominent as needs as far as the greeters and inflatables. So you all can fill in any areas that you want to talk about.
Yeah, so to expand on what Elizabeth was saying in terms of the greeters, so last year we had a kind of a bingo card where to kind of encourage different, for people who are attending the festival to interact with different types of booths. And so the way the bingo card is set up, for every booth type that you interact with, they can either sign off or give you a stamp. And then if you get a bingo, that's technically considered 1 entry to the raffle prizes, which we're collecting right now from very generous donors and businesses within the community. This year, we've gotten another 50 goodie bags from the Asheville Tours, which is the same thing they did last year, so that'll be fun. Those were a big hit, especially with the kids. But the other volunteers on the committee that are not part of NAC, they do most of the legwork in terms of talking to those businesses and trying to see, what businesses want to donate. So last year was combo of, gift cards and some actual items that were donated, and that's what we give away as prizes basically every hour on the hour, and then we would just draw, one of the bingo entries. And so if you're a greeter, part of your job is going to be, handing out those cards and explaining to the people that are arriving at the festival, how you get bingo and what the benefits of getting bingo are. So that's one thing. To Elizabeth's point about the inflatables, technically, we only really need 1 adult at the inflatables at all times, so that makes it really difficult if it's just 1 person there, because if they have to run to the restroom or get food or something, then it's left unattended. And so to be safe, we want to have at least, 2 people at the inflatables for the entire festival, and we've broken that up into 2 time slots. So there's the morning shift and then the afternoon shift. It's nicer because the festival is a little shorter this year than it was last year. It's 2 hours shorter, and so the shifts aren't going to be quite as long. So essentially, for the inflatables, for instance, the festival's from 11 to 3, so we have the time slot from 10:45 to 3:15. Just get there a little bit before the event starts, and then, a couple of minutes after it technically ends. So I would say in terms of need, that's probably what we need the most, just because we're required to have people there. Again, if needed, the people on the working group, the Festival Neighborhoods Working Group, will obviously also be at the festival, and so if needed, we can fill in. But it would be really nice to have those slots filled up, and then we can kind of put people as, we need them for the volunteers. And again, it was really nice that my guy taught me that to help with both breakdown and setup, because that means we can focus our volunteer efforts on just finding people during the actual festival. Any questions about that? Or?
I have a couple questions. Since festival 11 to 3, what was the, so I'm going to pivot back to the organizations. What was the count last year, and how many neighborhoods were there last year?
There were 10 neighborhoods last year, and we had a total of 28.
Okay.
So
neighborhood counts relatively the same.
No, it's basically the same neighborhoods. I don't know that we have, I think maybe we have 1 neighborhood that's there that wasn't there last year, and 1 that's missing maybe. But
and we did a lot more outreach and contacting them over and over again. We have about 80 active ones or so, and so we reached out to them over and over again. And then each planning team meeting we have a lot of people that said, "Oh, I'm in this neighborhood," or "I know this person, I'll talk to them." And so Not really sure. Yeah, it's the same.
So the likelihood that a random further outreach from someone else other than you is not super helpful.
That's not necessarily true. So it could be sometimes when we do reach out to neighborhoods, we don't necessarily get a response. So if you live in a neighborhood that you don't see or you didn't hear on the list, and you have some contact, and that's basically it's the person that would be organized or helping to organize the booth. And sometimes that's the person that's the hardest to get in touch with or hardest to get to commit. So I wouldn't say that's not, that wouldn't be fruitful, because a lot of these neighborhoods that we're trying to reach out to, we don't live in. So it's good to have that person on the inside when it comes to stuff like that sometimes.
I'll follow up maybe with a few maybe contacts I have.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you've got any at all, I mean, it doesn't hurt to hear it one more time and go, oh, dang, we meant to do that. It's not too late. Neighborhoods have priorities, so, pretty fast pace.
Yeah.
It's a big part.
Yeah.
And then back to the volunteering, so there's inflatables openings, and then what are the other graders?
There's graders, yeah. And there's going to be 2 entrances, I guess, technically. And so we have 4 graders total, split up into 2 shifts. But of course, that doesn't preclude anybody from volunteering for the entire festival. We just didn't want to have that as one shift, because that would be overwhelming for somebody to be there the whole day. So
I think the breakdown is 10:45 to 12:45 and 12:45 to 2:45 for the greeters. So there were 2-hour shifts, and we've already got one in each of those areas signed up. We need an additional one.
Can I tentatively sign up for a greater spot and then follow up with you tomorrow?
Sure.
And check my calendar, make sure I'm in town.
yeah, and that's something we can send out that volunteer everybody at the end of the meeting. Just so you guys have it, and if you want to sign up for a shift, or people who would like to sign up, then you can just pass it along to them.
I can't help with the balancing thing. Constitution unable to deal with little children. Kidding. I already have 3 myself, so I just can't.
Yeah, I get it.
All right, so we need,
Ask you a question.
Yes.
When you say neighborhoods, are you talking about the registered neighborhood now, or just any neighborhood?
The neighborhoods have to be registered within the city of Asheville.
Those are the ones that can participate.
I mean,
We
it is
haven't
a-
had anyone contact us in the last 2 years that was not part of a registered neighborhood that said we want to be a part. So the way we communicate is through the registered emails that we get from the city. So if they're not part of that, we don't have any way of
So
reaching them.
can this event be used as an opportunity to register more neighborhoods?
I mean, yes, but we wouldn't know who to reach out to say, come register your neighborhood.
But we know neighborhoods in Asheville. So like Hawk Creek, I'm just thinking.
Oh,
like,
they're a registered neighborhood. They've been contacted.
yeah. So but there are neighborhoods around the area that are not registered. You remember when we were talking about the funding?
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if this would be a great opportunity to go, to reach those, to invite those people. I mean, I sent to neighborhoods, but I'm just wondering if they want to be part of it. Can they be part of it or not?
As
If
long
they want to set up a table, can they be part of it? That's the question.
I think as long as
That's a
they're
great question
registered.
for our city staff, maybe.
I mean, like I mentioned, we wouldn't really know who to reach out to since they're not registered with the city, and we can't send a blank email to someone to say, come to our event and register your neighborhood.
So, just from our sign up form, it doesn't specify that if a neighborhood isn't registered with the city that they couldn't attend. And certainly I don't think that we would want to prohibit a neighborhood that wanted to participate, even if they weren't registered. And we would also encourage them to register once we had contact with them. So is that simple enough?
Yeah, that's what I really want to find out, because
Yeah.
if this is going out to all of 28805, some of them are not registered,
Yeah.
either because they didn't know or by choice. But now that they realize what they're missing out on, then this would be a great, in my opinion, I think it would be a great opportunity for them to be invited and say, come. And then when they're there, then they can, then there will be an explanation on how to become part of.
Yeah,
The
absolutely, Sandra, I agree.
Yeah, and I think that in part of the press releases and part of the marketing that was done, it was about find out how you can get more involved in neighborhood activities. And so if someone saw that and said, I'd really like to figure out how to do that, would they go to the Cape tent? Or would they go to find out more?
They absolutely could, yeah. That's what we'll be there for. One of the many things we'll be there for, yeah.
And Sandra, if you have somebody in particular in mind that you would want to send them somewhere, it would be appropriate to send them to Trey, right? And say, how do I get registered? Or I would assume.
Is Trey going to be there?
Yes, Trey will be there.
I guess this may be leading out of the business of this meeting, so I don't want to get too far on a drift. But are there sections of the city that are don't have like a neighborhood that lays over the top of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go on to,
I've seen the maps. I got the map.
yeah, in like the neighborhood services section of the city website, there is like a map overlay that shows the registered neighborhoods.
So I think within the city of Asheville, we have around 88 neighborhoods registered. I've heard that there's around 200 on Nextdoor, but I don't believe that is fully accurate. But we don't have like contact people for Nextdoor to reach out to every neighborhood.
So the other interesting thing there is that sometimes neighbors come together and mobilize around particular issues, and so they might be a loose organization that doesn't register, and then they sort of disband or don't meet once that issue is addressed. I've seen that happen throughout the years. So.
The festival is a good opportunity to reach those neighborhoods that aren't more organized, and to encourage them to get organized, because there are benefits to being a registered neighborhood besides being eligible for like the neighborhood matching grants. Just having a contact with the city when there's emergency situations like the water outage we had several years ago. The city uses those contacts to push information to. So certainly the festival is a good opportunity to try to get more neighborhoods registered, or at least plant that seed so someone might go back to their neighborhood and start that process. All right, so I'm hearing what you guys need though is you need a few more volunteers, just a couple, it sounds like.
Yes, it looks like for the greeter, we had that one person that signed up, so I think for that person, probably just put them who received them, unless they say otherwise.
And we're floating, so.
Yeah, so I would say we need 3 more inflatable volunteers, unless there's a couple people that would like to stay the whole day. So 3 for that, and then 4 total greeters, 2 for each time slot. So 2 from 10:45 to 12:45, and then another 2 from 12:45 until the end of the festival. So
It looks like there's a greeters. Well, no, that's the person. It looks like there's people signed up, but I just contacted someone and their email came back. It's
Undeliverable.
listed.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about.
Well, you can sign me up for throughout the day, a shift, wherever you need me.
Kids and their kids. I guess that's the.
I'll manage the children. I can manage the children. But yeah, put me down for a morning wherever you need me, an afternoon wherever you need me. I'll be there.
I'm so sorry. Last year I thoroughly enjoyed volunteering at the inflatables. It was a little raucous at times. We were some siblings that were in races down on both sides. And actually I made a connection. And my daughter followed up a couple times. So it was a great festival. But this, I'm so sorry. My granddaughter got a part in the music band, and it's in Atlanta. And I'm going to be out of
sure you'll miss the raucousness.
Awesome. And remind me, what's the situation with like the food truck situation going on?
So we have been constantly reaching out to a lot of different food trucks. Surprisingly, some of them are unresponsive, including one of our volunteers who's a neighbor to someone that has a food truck and has already said that they were going, even though they haven't confirmed with us. So we've got a few food trucks scheduled. We do have hopes to schedule possibly an ice cream place. We haven't had a response from them yet. The DJ is checking employee schedules, so they said they would reach out this week. So that should be, we should have everything set with the food trucks and the DJ by the end of the week.
I was trying to figure out where the email came from one of the planning members who said there was a taco.
Yeah,
That's Sam.
Sam's.
Okay.
I just added that to the spreadsheet.
Awesome. And the cake lady? No? Okay. Kept hoping for the cake lady.
All right, so it sounds like we've got all kinds of participants. We've got the entertainment getting sorted out in the last few days here, and it's really volunteers that you guys are looking for.
Unless any of you have a food truck or like to DJ. Just crack ups. No? Sandra? You don't want to DJ? You want a food truck? Do you?
I can help, but
No, I was kidding. I was just saying those were other. We're trying to get those nailed down.
I know.
I do know that Councilmember Rowan has a DJ
One of my painters, sidelines is a DJ. I mean, are we desperate? I'm not sure how good he is.
Sorry.
That would be a Jake question.
He's a painter by day, DJ by night, so I don't know how. I've never heard of him.
So,
You want me to reach out? I guess I do have connections I'm trying to get at.
not right now.
It's
Since it's going to be shorter than last year, we don't want to have to worry about changing shifts in the middle of the short event. So we're trying to just hopefully schedule the one that we had last year. So if I don't have a confirmation by the end of the week, then I'll reach out to you.
Did you have something like face painting for children?
Somebody on the planning team was following up with a woman who does face painting in one of the neighborhoods. They might do it at one of the neighborhood tents. If not, somebody's checking on face painting. We also have a,
Balloon guy.
oh yeah, tell them about the other entertainment. The balloon guy? And
There's a balloon guy.
he makes balloons. So we're trying to get face painting, balloons. Oh, and Parks and Rec will be there with their giant truck of games and programming.
You comment on last year's t-shirts? Hope we haven't gained weight.
Yeah, if you have a T-shirt from last year and you're going to attend, please wear. I'm wearing mine under my sweatshirt, but it's cold in here, so you can't see it. Do we have any more of those for our new members, or would we have to print more?
We just ordered the amount that we didn't order extras. We have only 2 new members since last year, correct? Would you like t-shirts?
don't order especially for me, but I would like a t-shirt.
You guys are signed up for a 3-year commitment, so you're going to need a
You
t-shirt.
don't have to buy one for 3 years.
Send me your unisex t-shirt size, please.
No problem. Submit it later. Send it to you.
We should check with Dane too. I can't remember if he
He was
around.
yeah, to volunteer last year, so.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. So I think that would be the best move is just to, after this meeting, send the sign up volunteer to everybody on this committee. That way we can think about it, check their calendars.
there's 3 different tiers, and they can choose what they wanted to support within the festival. And the lowest tier, which had 4 slots, got filled with $250 donations a piece. So it's $1,000 total that we're able to spend. We can only spend it on programming or activities. So we can't use it, for marketing, or getting shirts, or anything like that. And so we wouldn't want that to go to waste. But since we can only use it on programming activities, if we were, for instance, going to use it on the balloon bag, I think that's $200. And then the inflatables, Christine, are like 400 something, or 450. So that gives us what, like $150 or so left. Did that come wrong?
About
That's wrong.
300 or so.
It's like 250,
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, that's what whoever was on the planning committee was checking out face painting.
Okay.
We would be willing to pay that person to do that.
Yeah.
So
We basically have
DJ is also being paid.
Yes.
The DJ is also being paid.
Oh yeah, that's
So
true.
that kind of rounded out, I think, our.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't, money that we were just leaving on the table. But again, the limitation is we can only spend it on program activities, because that's what we told the donors we were going to spend it on.
The DJ did agree to the set amount that we had agreed on, and as long as he can schedule somebody.
Is it against the rules to have anyone come that is offering these services for any tips or something like that? Like I said, hey, I'm going to do face paint on the pay, but if I want to tip jar.
Good question.
That is a
I'm just trying to stretch the budget.
yeah.
What's the question?
If the vendors if they're being paid, can they also accept tips?
No, if they're not, so if they're not being.
Or if they're not being
Right,
paid?
so like, hey, I'll volunteer,
Basically,
but I'm
doing
going to
their
put the
services in kind.
tip jar out and,
I just have a question before we answer that. Face painting, if since that's the example, if a face painter asked to be paid, would that fall under programming?
Yes, correct.
Could-
Yeah.
Could use
Yes.
that.
I'm saying the budget.
Yeah, I understand.
Because I think it's not just programming activities, so which is pretty generic.
It's probably something that we'll need to look further into just to make sure, but,
And I think it's also
because they're not city employees, that's where we end up, we do have limitations. I mean, we've been through this, for example, at the Civic Center, and can we or can we not, but those are paid employees. I just want to make sure that there isn't anything by our ordinances or general statute that would prohibit, because it's city sponsored. Somewhat, I don't know, it's a little bit of a gray area, certainly city sponsored, but because it's coming from a council appointed committee and the people that might be collecting tips are not city paid staff, there might be some opportunity for them to be able to accept tips, but we can look that up and make sure just that everybody feels well prepared and comfortable.
I don't want to overcomplicate it if it makes it, runs potentially afoul of some.
I don't think it will, and I think it could be just a quick question. I would just ask the city attorney real quick, if you see any problems with this, and they can let us know.
Well, I think that's also a good question if somebody that we did pay brings a tip jar. So then I think universally, we need to have an answer for that too. So if we did, because if we're planning on paying the face painting person, she brings a tip jar, is that something that we're okay with because we're already paying them? Or do we want to say no because you're already being paid? Or you can only collect tips if you haven't already been compensated? So I think that's something that we would also need to decide, because that's potentially the situation we could run into.
Yeah. I don't imagine it's going to be a problem, but let's just triple check. Let us just triple check to make sure everybody feels really good about what they can and cannot do the day of.
And just for everyone's information, in case you hear somebody in the community say, well, I wanted to go and I submitted something and I wanted to sell my jewelry, we're not allowing people to just come and sell things, but the last 5 entries we've gotten are people wanting to sell things. So as a committee on our meeting on Wednesday too, we'll have to wrestle with that and then contact those folks and tell them that's not what.
Can you have raffles?
Mm-hmm.
There's special
Well,
language,
guys.
there's special language that needs to be used.
To be used, oh, okay. Because sometimes,
Like, we can't call it a contest. And,
no raffles.
yeah,
Last year we called it door prizes. Because sometimes with the raffle, you like pay to enter a raffle, and this is just like you show up, you get a ticket, you get entered into the door prize. Well, and there's like a game associated with it. But yes, that's part of the in-kind donations that we've been receiving.
yeah, so last year we had like hourly prizes. However, like, it wasn't a requirement that you had to pay or achieve something in order to necessarily win a prize.
Oh, okay, so you just give out numbers and then there's a drawing and then
Yeah.
you just call that
It's
number. and
kind of like a drawing.
Oh, so you don't have to like pay for it?
No,
Oh, okay, so
You just have to win bingo.
Yeah,
Huh?
you just have to get a video on the cards.
Okay.
So you mentioned that kind of there's 3 different tiers for people to provide donations that end up funding the event, and so I'm kind of just curious more about just tell me more about how that funding happens and if there was any money coming from the city. I'm kind of just wondering what the overall budget was for this and where those different contributions came from.
Okay, so there was 2 things going on at the same time, which was we submitted a request to the city for a budget based on what the festival spent last year. And then when we were waiting for that approval, we also wanted to see if we could get some cash donations from the community. I think it ended up adding up to about $3,000, so it was essentially to cover what we requested the city for. And there were 3 tiers, which this was the first time we were doing this. We were just trying to figure out, I think, the best way to get the stuff that we would like to have would be nice. And one was, merchandise for the festival, not to be sold, but for either attendees to wear when they get there, or for volunteers to have, if they were to volunteer, depending on how much of the cash we got for that, and no one donated anything for that. And then the other one, 3 tiers were, but essentially there wasn't anything scientific behind the tiers, if that's what you're wondering. It was basically, I don't know, one $1,000 donation, and then was it like 2 $500 donations, and then 4 $250 donations or something like that. So,
And the only ones were the 4 that.
and then we got 4 $250 donations, all in the activities and programming tier, essentially. So then we do have a list of those types. I mean, I know one was a dental office, and there was a insurance company. I don't remember the names off the top of our heads, but there was a specific process that we had to follow with the donations, which was kind of labor intensive for the city staff as well. And then, of course, the volunteers that we have on the committee were the ones that were essentially boots on the ground, going from business to business, telling them about the festival and asking them if they would like to donate. And so the way that worked was they asked for a pledge, and then we had to come back and collect the money and then give the check to the city, and the city staff would have to write that organization a receipt, confirming that the cash donation was made. So
Gotcha. So you had 3 tiers, but you only got buy-in at the lowest tier? Okay. And that totaled $1,000?
correct.
And
So
there
for
were,
donations of $250.
okay. And then there was a $3,000 request from the city that
was not
approved. I know this year's
And,
budget
yeah,
talk
you
was
have to
really
give a
tight.
little- Give a little bit more background on what that request was. And Christina, you can help me fill in if there's anything coming from our department this year, specifically what amount that is. I'm not off the top of my head. But the request was in the city of Asheville overall budget. So because it's not current, the festival wasn't currently budgeted. Last year, we had some funds that came from the Communication and Public Engagement Department. And this year, we included in a request, when all departments put in requests every year during the annual budget process. This was one that was submitted but was not funded. And they're just for some perspective, there were a lot of things that weren't funded, positions that were requested that weren't funded. It was a very tight budget year. So I just mentioned that I would hate for anybody to walk out of this meeting with the idea that city council or city leadership didn't think that this is a wonderful and important event. Definitely do. There's just a lot of competing needs, whether it's affordable housing, parks and recreation, public safety. We've got buildings that are falling apart. there are a lot of demands. So just for a little more context on that. And then Christina, are we contributing anything from our budget?
So the way that we're working with the working group on any, outstanding needs is on a case-by-case basis. So we've got that $1,000 that was done through, garnered through fundraising by our great volunteers. And then anything above and beyond that, we're happy to help support because we've committed to that. It's just hard to put a finite amount of money on it for y'all because it's our external programming and outreach budget for our whole department for the whole year. And the fiscal year is just getting started. So that's our rationale. We're making it work.
So can I ask you a question around the budget? The subcommittee did also, had 20% increase in attendance, and it's not even the end of the other end. In terms of engagement with the community, right? You went from 28 to 32, and it's probably had a couple more, so I'll call that 20% increase, roughly, by the time you get there. If they're 28 to 34, you get 20% increase. Roughly, 20, whatever. Is there a way to document the work that these folks did or that we've done? I mean, I didn't do it, but that we'll do moving forward to get likelihood of money coming from the city? It's pretty cool work that they've done. It sounds like a pretty awesome event. I guess, is there a way to increase the odds that the city looks fake?
Yeah, data's always great, and we had data that we submitted with the budget request this year for this current budget that we're in for this fiscal year. But yes, numbers always help, stories help, and again, I just can't stress enough the tightness of budgeting in local government these days. And so I think a very helpful piece of this is to be able to show the amount of money that the committee was able to raise, and that could be enticing as we come into the FY26 budget season, which, believe it or not, will be kicking off here in a few months. Budgeting never stops.
That's a very good question, because they also have those who volunteered, because I believe what you're saying is that to quantify their time, right?
I'm just saying quantifying the value to the
in dollar cents, how much the worth of that, of the time that is spent. Because they also have to receive a letter. They should be getting a thank you note and a letter to let them know for the time that they spent or whatever it is that they donated. And that, if we're able to do the interpretation of convert that to dollar value, then it becomes a budget that can be presented to the council.
That's not necessarily, maybe I'm not following. I'm just saying this, there's some way to quantify this. And yeah, the volunteer's time is worth something. I think it's a lot. It seems like it should be a lot more than that. I heard there was a job film based on it's tens of thousands of dollars to recruit somebody. I'm being a little bit facetious, but it seems like, $3,000, really? You can't get
Really, that is how tight budgets are. And you can't stress enough that there are a lot of needs, and the more data that we can submit, the better, really. And so the idea of framing it with both what was able to be raised and the show of the dollars, the equivalent, right, for what community members members, from what this committee put into it, I think is really compelling.
Yeah, and then, because if we're able to do that, I'm willing to put that, if you can do that, then you actually have numbers. And say for 6 hours, for this service, it's worth $500, and that's if then you can show that and say, okay, when we put this on, it's 5,000. So how much can you give us? Then we go and raise the rest. Because I don't know if this committee is supposed to have any money after the event.
If they're supposed to be any money after the event,
Yeah.
well, and not necessarily just to cover the event, right? Because it is an idea of a council-appointed board or commission that had not been funded. And we found some ways to get some money in there, and certainly I don't think there's any expectation that could potentially be problematic if the money that was raised wasn't spent.
Yeah, I would hope that we would aim for like a break-even kind of situation.
Correct.
So, am I hearing this correctly, that you guys have basically put this whole thing on with just $1,000, some volunteer hours, and a little bit of support from Kate? Is that accurate?
Two t-shirts.
1,000 cash,
Yeah.
not volunteer hours.
Right, well, the 1,000 cash plus all the man hours that they
Okay.
have provided. And person hours.
I guess I just want to clarify my point around value is more around like community connections being made, and like, if more neighborhoods sign up, or
The attendance.
yeah, people made connections that helped further the goals. I wasn't trying to make an economic argument but that volunteers should get money.
No, I haven't did time.
Yeah, that's basically just that. And the good news is, obviously this is only the second year, so every time, we had some lessons from last year during planning, we have some lessons from this year. One thing I didn't point out is that $1,000 was actually raised in a very short amount of time, just because we didn't know exactly what the process was to even, what did it look like to receive cash donations, because we didn't do that last year. In terms of what does that language look like, what is the process, especially trying to get a budget approved. And so there was a lot of unknowns, and I think, and I don't want to speak for the entire working group, but I do think that we definitely feel better prepared to do something similar next year, knowing what we know now about even the businesses that wanted to donate, but it was past a certain point, and so now we know we got to get them earlier. Or there's certain things that they, we got really good feedback from a lot of potential donors that didn't donate this year, but seemed like they would be a good candidate to reach out to next year. So that's also good news.
Can I add one thing? Still with this idea of what can we collect to make a compelling story for funding during the budget season, knowing that that's going to come up soon. Those stories are another important they can be pretty persuasive if neighborhoods, if we are somehow able to capture that this festival has created more connections between neighborhoods, that has helped them, I don't know, with their climate resilience planning, or the formation of a new neighborhood association or a new neighborhood association registering. Those are the kinds of things I think that are going to be most compelling as they relate directly to the goals of the festival, and then feed on up to council's strategic priority of a connected and engaged community.
Elizabeth, it sounds like with the balloons and face painting, that's a lot of, sweetness and the kids for the kids. I was just trying to think of all possible options, did you think about, is the Humane Society, I was thinking if they brought a couple of crates of puppies for adoption, that might be fun for kids, that's always kind of sweet. I don't know. And then the only other idea I had was I wish I hadn't taken it to Goodwill, but I took a whole box of books, kids' books. But I was thinking you could even do a table of free books, giveaway books, something like that. I was just trying to think outside the box.
Yeah, those are wonderful ideas, and I think we're always gathering new ideas from folks. And what we did last year, which I hope we're going to do this year too, is after the festival we have kind of a debriefing, we gather feedback. Maybe we can think about a more structured feedback system to get from the participants in some way, to get more, like what would you like to have seen here that wasn't, or what's your creative idea? We would love to expand. Had we gotten money, we had a lot of other things on the table, like actually having a stage and a band and other things like that. So there is lots of room for expansion. If we have more time to get more money. We made a decision if we were going to get $3,000 at that time from the city, the stage itself was going to be $2,500, and we said we're not doing that. So we just took that off the table and started focusing on smaller things. But lots of room for more.
Yeah, just was trying to think of other things that would engage people.
Who doesn't like animals running around? I'm sure that's another city attorney kind of thing. I'm not sure, but
Parks and Rec might feel a certain way about the animals on their
I was going to say, I was raising my hand on that. I was thinking it would be wonderful for the Humane Society to come and have a table and bring the brochure, but animals coming to that festival should not be encouraged, because cats and dogs are okay, but some people consider some strange stuff pets. And when you start bringing in reptiles, they are pets too. And then they can be an argument for, well, you let them come with their pets, but I would think that it would be more appropriate for them to come with the brochure and have a table and encourage people to adopt if you want to, and then go to their office and pick it up, then bring those animals to the event.
I think that was Joe's idea.
Yeah, that was what
The
I
Humane
thought.
Society brought the dogs, not men.
To bring what?
The idea was for
They weren't
the-
bringing snakes and rabbits.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying bringing animal, period, to the event, to not.
So she just said the Humane Society could bring animals into control of the environment,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
and I would suggest that anybody that has ideas and wants to be a part of at least the initial brainstorming of that, we started in January of this year, planning for all the ways we were envisioning things for this festival. So just keep those in mind. We'll start again.
Is Jake staying on?
Yes.
You are. You can still like your term, right?
Yes, so there is a rule within the city that basically states, as a good standing member, if I move out of my neighborhood, I am also able to retain my seat.
Okay. Yeah, I learned that in the training.
That's awesome.
Awesome. So I want to wrap up the discussion of the Festival of Neighborhoods soon, but just looking forward, we're at the end of the year, we will prepare our annual report, and so once you guys are able to get the festival done with, take a break, I would like to, if you're able to kind of put some numbers together as a reflection in terms of how many volunteer hours you think in total you guys spent on this, and you've already provided us with some numbers in terms of participation of total groups and neighborhoods, and certainly all that information. I would really welcome that for when we put our annual report together.
Sorry to ask one more thing. On that front, the data thing, I'm really excited about this data thing. Does anyone on the committee have a camera that they're good with? Or do we have a photographer? Jay, are you taking pictures of the thing?
I might.
Because I was thinking that could be like pictures of smiling kids with balloons. Assuming we have to get consent from them or whatever, could be part of the storyline deal. Not to complicate matters, but that's probably too late to hire a photographer.
We have resources, and we've got great photos from last year, and certainly those are all part of the presentations that we as city staff present to the city council's equity and engagement committee. In fact, Christina just did a presentation last Tuesday, making the council committee aware that it was coming up and encouraging them to share that news, and had some really great, engaging photos. And so our team can help with that as well. So our department staff will be there, and most of our staff's pretty creative and can at least take a good photo.
Last year, a lot of people took photos and had the opportunity to upload them into a collective shared drive.
Can we also use the opportunity to promote the people the volunteer of the year? Would that be appropriate?
To like mention them?
Yeah. Would that be okay?
I see. You mean, where would we do that? Where are you thinking it might happen?
Maybe like during the welcome or closing or in between doing the raffle somewhere and just say, maybe the DJ can do that. Like, in between the presentation and say, hey, so and so in the house and that, is the winner from August of this thing, nominate somebody from your neighborhood for our next, so they know all the things that they're doing.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea and it's doable. If we're going to have mic time and we're going to be doing door prizes anyway, might as well put a plug in for a couple of other NAC endeavors.
Yeah, I had actually written down to reach out to, because so far our 3 volunteer spotlights have been from Haw Creek, Charlotte Street, and Malvern Hills, which Malvern Hills might be participating as part of the West Asheville group.
The larger West Asheville group. The other 2 are not participating for various reasons.
Okay, so they have specifically said that they're not.
Yes.
Okay, well that's fine. I won't reach out to them, encouraging them to try to get their neighborhoods involved in, but I could reach out to them and invite them to come to the festival, and we could make whenever they show up, we could make an announcement about them, and certainly if we have that opportunity to also kind of publicize the volunteer program as well, that would be good. Certainly I'll walk around to the tables and kind of mention it.
And if there is, if you want to reach out to the neighborhood associations where they have had neighbors honored like that, that might get them to attend the festival, or say, hey, we'd like to mention you during the festival. That might.
Like for instance, the Haw Creek guy who's going above and beyond. How did he get named? Because Haw Creek's not going to be there, but they got him. Is Haw Creek 5K guy, if I remember correctly?
Yes.
How did he get that nomination volunteer of the month?
We did some publicity on the city's social media pages, and one of his neighbors just happened to nominate him.
Could we reach directly out to that neighbor again and say, hey, I don't know, that neighbor was active enough to submit a volunteer?
I'm happy to reach out to those people. You are making it sound like those neighborhoods specifically said, no, we don't want to do this, in which case I don't want to pester them about it.
It was more
your contacts at those neighborhoods said they didn't want to participate.
they have had conversations with other people in the city staff, I believe. Other people on the planning committee who have reached out to them.
Okay.
But
All right, no worries. I'll reach out to them though and let them know that if they are available to attend and would like to be recognized at that event, we're more than happy to recognize them at that time.
The whole preview gets us up
I'm just wondering, just the last thing I want to say about the data, does the city own one of those clickers that somebody that's a greeter at a gate can just, as people go in, they click participants? Because that's we don't really have a way of capturing how many people are there, other than really bad estimates or the number of bingo cards we printed. But some people
We kind
get
of use that as like a marker, because we knew it was at least this many people, plus however many more, but yeah.
but yeah, there were some people that got multiple bingo cards. So in terms of, I just don't know if that was a quick way. Does the city own one of these?
I have.
There's probably an app for that.
I have a friend who has some of those. He tracks people that go to his Halloween party. It's not a joke.
Okay.
So I might be able to borrow one. Can we borrow things?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying not to run foul. I'm learning the ordinance.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, attendance would certainly be a
really
great
good idea.
metric to have.
This friend doesn't use apps, so he's got an analog clicker.
Yeah.
We don't have a clicker at both games, though, so
Most people will
I'm
come.
happy to look into it.
Well, I do hope that anyone who is in town on that day who sits on this committee will stop in for at least a portion of the time. Please do. And if there aren't any other questions about the Festival of Neighborhoods, we will move on to our second item of business, which is our annual retreat meeting discussion. And we just kind of started the discussion on this at our last meeting, and so after getting some time to think about it, I just wanted to open the floor up if anyone else had any other ideas or requests with regard to our retreat meeting, which will be at our September meeting next month.
So it's a retreat. Does that mean that it's held not here at the city hall, or why is it a retreat?
There are other boards. Like, for example, Jake and I both do the Multimodal Transportation Commission, and we actually had a retreat that was like 2 Saturdays where we got together and over at the fire department training building. But according to the NAC bylaws, it's during a regular meeting. So it's kind of just like a regular meeting that we set aside for our strategic planning. You can think of it more as like a planning meeting than really a retreat meeting. That's how it's outlined in our bylaws currently. Of course, it's part of our duties or part of our responsibilities that were outlined for NAC in the ordinance that created NAC, that we would govern our own bylaws. So we can always change that in the future, but as it currently stands, it's during our regular meeting, our regular space. But you can think of it more as like a planning meeting.
Sounds good.
No additional requests? I think
So
last.
just quickly, there was going to be a set agenda, right? Because there's only certain, I think you guys covered this last time, but like, there's only certain things we can cover, right?
That was to this meeting because it was a special meeting.
Okay.
But next meeting will be a regular meeting, so we'll have our agenda, but then we can diverge from that if topics come up. But I'm thinking we'll have probably some sort of icebreaker activity, and then
We talked about doing what I had from last meeting that we thought was, relevant to our committee, and also what people were interested in, and also based on what we were interested in last year was emergency preparedness, and see if we could have any of the people that have presented to us in the past have a presentation. I know we met Kelly Hines last time, and I think she expressed interest in being available for a presentation, equity, engagement, and then forced transit, and any kind of project updates related to that. And then if there's any community and neighborhood organizations that are not necessarily part of the city, but are closely aligned to our goals, for instance, the Coalition of Asheville Neighborhoods, and maybe come up with ways that we can work with them without necessarily, running afoul. Because I understand if we work that closely with an organization, it could be that the city's endorsing them, and so we kind of have to toe that delicate line, right? That's what I had on my notes from last meeting, so I didn't know if there was anything that, since then, if people thought of other things that don't really fall into those categories that they
for the new folks, like this Vision 2036 or whatever. Is there someone from the city who can give us a primer on that?
On the comprehensive plan.
Yeah. And how it would cascade down the equity engagement.
So council strategic vision or living Asheville, the comprehensive plan?
There's like a strategy 2036 or vision 2036.
2036, yes, so that's council strategic,
Yeah.
and you're absolutely right. It kind of comes down from council, then council committees, and then council boards and commissions are under that, and then staff and then individual team members ideally. Everything should be lining up to those larger visions, and we can certainly give an overview or share ahead of the meeting materials about what those are, including what council's priorities are for this current fiscal year, which is very important in that strategic planning for your work plan for the coming year.
Yes, I had notes on that as well, that we also want to look back at last year's goals and kind of see how we did on those, and then look at council's goals for this year, the equity engagement council committee strategic plan for this year, and see if we can come up with some goals for the coming year that really aligns with what the council committee and what council are doing. I think that's where we have the most ability to feel like what we're doing has an impact, because they are topics that the council has already, signaled are important, that they want to take action on, and so we're more likely to feel like we've been impactful when we kind of take the cue from council and work on things underneath that umbrella. And certainly if there's an opportunity to look more broadly, I know we're talking about councils and the council committee's goals for this year, but to look more broadly at like the comp plan and stuff, those are the documents that are hopefully guiding the year-to-year stuff. So maybe there's an opportunity to pull out a few key points from some of those larger documents. Like I think the comp plan is like 300 pages or something, but there's probably 10 pages in there that are really important to neighborhoods.
Comp plan, what's CRP? What's that?
The comprehensive plan, the Living Asheville Comprehensive Plan,
Comp plan
2018.
sometimes means compensation plan, and some of the things I do say.
Yeah,
I don't need to know that necessarily, but comprehensive plan's great. I mean, is there like a pre-read? I'm like a big pre-read guy. Is there like a pre-read that the city has, or a YouTube I can watch?
I can give you a link to a 300-page document.
Okay, I'll take that. That's the comprehensive plan.
Yes. I might be confusing the page numbers with the transit master plan, which is also a huge document.
And then the comprehensive plan is development oriented. So if you're wanting kind of a comprehensive, what is council's vision, the council vision documents that Elise mentioned earlier are definitely going to be your entry point into that.
Last year, we did the what's most important, and we went on the wall, and I found that really helpful. And it was interesting that we were so similar. And in that regard, I would like to be somehow more specific. And by that I mean, if we identify, well, we're pretty concerned about no sidewalks or heavy traffic, more traffic and faster cars, then I would like to know how you then say, okay, well, the city has this in mind for these areas to do sidewalk repair. To be able to then say, well, in 28804, we're where on the list? Do you know what I'm trying to say? So that we could have more specific information about those things that we felt were so important, to be able to say, okay, well, we thought green space and parks. Well, I know they are doing a big master plan. Well, where do the different zip codes fall?
Right. And a lot of what you're talking about there in terms of sidewalks is in the city's GAP plan, which stands for greenways and pedestrian or something like that. So,
But a way to interpret it more specifically, I need help with that, and I was just thinking that that's a great service for us to be able to offer our neighborhoods, to give them more specific information.
yeah, I would agree. It might be helpful, I know with the MMTC meetings, attached to our agendas are like a whole bunch of links to all these like plans and stuff. And so I'm wondering if in the future, if we can have some of those links on our agenda, like with the GAP plan and that kind of stuff, the comprehensive plan. Certainly it's, I don't expect everyone to read every page of those and know them all, but at least if the resources are consolidated there, so that you kind of know where to go if you're looking for that, could be helpful.
I guess I think if we are the source of, because I think even if, like she was saying, even if other residents don't have access to this, it can be really overwhelming. And so one of the things that we can do as a committee is to digest this information and then, like you were saying, kind of disseminate it to the neighborhoods that we represent in ways that's easier for them to digest, because I also think that gives them incentive to continue to engage and communicate with us, because then they're getting information that's relevant to them, that's easier for them to understand, as opposed to, well, this is all information that's available on the city website, but it's really long and convoluted, and a lot of it's not going to apply, to somebody who's reading it. So I think that's a great service that we can offer to them.
Well, the example that I was thinking of, Trey came to our Beaver Dam Valley Neighborhood Association meeting, and so people were talking about, well, we don't have a park, we don't have this. Well, Trey was trying to bring up somewhere there's some kind of park being planned near 28804. We couldn't figure out where it was and when it was going to be. And it's that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm kind of hearing what might be a goal that could come out of our retreat next month is if we want to work on something like taking all these big plans and creating little infographics or some sort of, distilling it down into the most important 2 or 3 pages of information, so that then we have that for the neighborhoods. That it could be something to keep in mind when we come up with our goals for next year, if that's something we might want to work on.
Like, what's the new greenway? What neighborhoods is it going to impact? Who's going to be right on the edge?
Right.
Stuff like that.
Would it be, so Joe, would this be making I'm just looking at the 2024 goals so I can understand, because I wasn't there, making the increasing AC engagement with Asheville residents, that's relatively nebulous, right? So a goal to make it more specific, as in to provide certain levels of granularity of information that's relevant to neighbors. I don't want to get into the planning of the meeting, but is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's part of it for sure.
That's a great goal, by the way. Criticize the goal.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, is there any other? I think we're already kind of getting into. We're already starting to think about what we want our goals to be. So yeah, definitely be thinking about that. And when we get back together next month, we'll really solidify what those goals are going to be. And I can already tell that. Just from the interest and excitement that I'm already hearing, that I think we'll be able to make some really good progress on whatever we do decide are going to be our 3 to 4 goals for the year. So I'm very excited about that. Is there any other talk about the retreat meeting before we close for the night?
I don't know if it is within our terrain, but I was happy to see something being built by Rankin parking lot, and they said that's going to be like a public bathroom. Is that what it is?
Yes.
I was so happy to see that, and the reason is, about a year ago, I was in Hendersonville, and I had to use the bathroom. And it's like, and I'm thinking, oh my God, where's McDonald's, where's Starbucks? I can't find anything nearby. But then I saw this beautiful, clean setup, and it says public bathroom. So I'm wondering, oh my God, Is that what they're trying to build over there?
Yes, yeah, it'll be a 24/7 public restroom.
And is that going to be like other locations?
It's just the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they, hopefully they start with this one and maybe.
If it's successful, then we'll see about that. We'll see. Yeah, there was well, it was funded through ARPA funds. Those are the American Rescue Plan funds that came out of the money from the federal government in response to COVID to provide some funds for resources that were needed, coming out of that. And there was some public pushback to doing that project for the bathroom. But hopefully folks will see it as positive, and maybe there'd be potential for more of that in the future.
I hope so. I mean, that's like tourist hub. You see them parking and and because they're always asking questions. My office is right across from there, and most of the stores there, you cannot go in there and use the bathroom. So I'm wondering, what are they supposed to use? So, and having the drum circle, you can be there all day, but then sometimes when they want to do something, but people just jump into their car and just go home. But with that, I think it was really, that's a brilliant idea, and I hope they can have it in other places.
Well, if there's no more discussion about our retreat, I will adjourn the meeting unless there are any objections. Oh, Councilmember Roney, would you like to share anything with us?
I'd hoped to be able to watch your meeting online, but I wasn't able to tonight, so I can't contribute to what you've already been discussing. But I can share that the Equity and Engagement Committee of Council does have a work plan set up, and I hear intention from our committee to send information and requests for advisement from you. So I look forward to syncing up the conversation you had about your retreat and our work plans together so we can all level up and make good use of each other's time. And thank you for your service.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, on that note, it is 7:31 and I will adjourn the meeting.